And until I messed up my outro. What the hell? I've been doing that outro for years. Hey friends, welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here, then welcome. I would love it if you would consider subscribing. Today we're going to be taking a look at the new 6-pan palette from Pat McGrath. This is the Mothership Rose Decadence palette. And before I even open it up, let's just take a moment to appreciate just how beautiful this outside packaging is. It is stunning. It's so beautiful. All right, but you probably care more about what's inside. And there she is. This color story is right up my alley. I love purples, pinks, anything purple pink adjacent. I can't get enough. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I did this eye look, and then at the end, I'm going to give you my thoughts on the performance of this palette. Bear in mind, this is just a first impressions. This is my first time playing with this. So I will keep you guys updated in a future video with respect to whether or not my opinion on this palette changes over time with additional use. So for now, let me give you just a little bit of information about this palette, and then we'll move into the eye demo. So it retails for $86 Canadian, and you can purchase it either through the Pat McGrath website or on Sephora. I am very pleased to announce that when I received this, because I ordered it from the Pat McGrath website, when I received it, there were none of those little plastic squiggles that she used to love to put into her packaging. And I'm very happy about that because those things were a nightmare. I would have little plastic squiggles in my house for days after. The cats would find them. I swear the dog was digging them out of the garbage. My toddler, like it was a nightmare. They had none of that. These were nicely wrapped in paper. Everything was very secure. Nothing was damaged. I'm really enjoying that. So, like I said, it is $86 for that. As you saw, there are 6 pans inside, and they are how big? It does not say. That's not super helpful. Let's go over to the Sephora. Let's go over to the Sephora website and see what it says over there. Sephora website for the win. It tells me that there are 2 grams of product per pan. Now, just to put that into a bit of perspective, a Makeup Geek single pan has 1.5 grams of product in it. So obviously there's more per pan in this palette than what would be contained in here. In terms of finishes, you are getting a nice mix here. There are 2 mattes, 3 shimmers, and 1 duochrome. And really, that's kind of the extent of the information. There's really not an awful lot to tell you about this. So what I think I'm going to do is do some swatches, and then we'll move into the eye demo, just so that you can see more of them than what you're ultimately going to see on my eyes. Here we go. For the swatches, I'm going to group them by finish, just so you can compare matte to matte and shimmer to shimmer. So the first one here is called Peach Dusk, and it is described as a coral satin matte. Next up is Hedonistic Rose, which is described as a rose plum matte. And then over here, this is the duochrome, which is called Fuchsia Flame, and it is a warm fuchsia duochrome. Now we'll move into the metallic shadows. This one is Pink Champagne, described as a warm rose gold shimmer. Next up is Scandalous, which is a copper metallic. And then finally we have Golden Honey, an antique gold metallic. So you can see how nicely they finger swatch. There's really no patchiness to them, there's no dustiness, nothing has crumbled or gotten flaky on my arm. They're very nice and smooth, and the texture of the shadow in the pan is also very nice. All right, now with swatches done, it's time to move into the eye look. Here we go. Hi. Okay, so I did manage to use all of the shades in here in this eye look. So I'm just going to walk you through the steps that I did to create this. So first off, I went into this shade here, which is called Peach Dusk. I applied that to the crease and then blended it up throughout sort of the transition area. For this, I'm using one of the Clionadh Cosmetics brushes. Also, I have already primed my eyes with the MAC Paint Pot in Soft Ochre, just in case you're curious. Next, I went into this shade here called Hedonistic Rose, and this is the Wayne Goss number 19 brush. I applied that shade on either side of my lid and then carried it through the crease. And I will say this brush is so nice and precise, and it fits into my crease very nicely, which is helpful because I do have rather hooded eyes. With what was left over on my Clionadh brush, I'm just going to blend where those two shadows meet. Next, I just picked up some of this shade called Scandalous on my finger and patted that over the center of my lid. Then I took what was left over on the Wayne Goss brush and just blended the edges a bit. To add even more definition to my lid, I took this shade here called Golden Honey, picked it up on my baby finger, and then put that into the very, very center of my lid. For my lower lash line, I picked up this shade here called Fuchsia Flame, and I'm pretty sure this is a MAC 219. I'm pretty sure the number has wiped off, but I'd go about 95% that's a 219 brush. Again, with what's just left over on this Wayne Goss brush, I'm just going to buff the edge of that out a bit. And then finally, for my inner corner and my brow bone, I picked up Pink Champagne on this little wee brush here, which is a Valère E09 brush. All right, and there is the final look. Now, before I close my eyes and show you what the shadows look like on my lids, we need to make a pact with each other, okay? I will show you the eyeshadows, and in exchange, you're not going to judge my eyeliner, okay? Because I rode the struggle bus today. What were supposed to be flicks have turned into some weird semblance of wings. They do not look great. Okay, here we go, now that we've addressed that. So there are the shadows in action, and I think they're so pretty. They're just so beautiful. The lipstick that I'm wearing is also from Pat McGrath. This is one of her Luxe Trance lipsticks in the shade Realness, and I just think it's very pretty. All right, let's bump it out, and then I will give you my thoughts on the palette and how it performs. All right, so that is a much more comfortable distance for me. How about you? Okay, so the palette, beautiful. The packaging, stunning, absolutely beautiful. The color story is right up my alley. Like I said, I like pink. I just love the color pink, but also I love what these kind of tones do for the green aspect to my eye. I have like hazel eyes. They used to be very much brown with a hint of green. Somehow over time they've turned green with a hint of brown. Regardless, rose tones, purples, mauves, those kind of shades bring the green out, and not mad about it. I really like that. So the mattes in here, there's only 2. There's only 6 shades. I'm not upset about that. The mattes, beautiful. They're not stiff. They're very smooth. They blend out nicely. There's good color payoff there. I didn't have to dip in a bunch of times to build up. They weren't stubborn, so especially that darker shade, when I put it down, it didn't just stick there and then just sort of move. It blended beautifully. I have no complaints about the mattes. The Shimmer Shadows, again, spoiler, I have no complaints about this palette. The Shimmer Shadows are beautiful. They pick up on a brush, they pick up with the finger, there's good payoff to them. They're not crumbly, they're not flaky, they're not creating a bunch of fallout, there's no glitter in them. It's all the things that I want in a foiled kind of shadow. And then the duochrome shadow, again, it performs beautifully. I think the duochrome is very subtle in it though. And duochromes are hard to pick up on my camera at any rate. I think it's just something with the way the lighting hits them. But even when I look at it, there is a bit of a golden shift to it, but it is very subtle. So if you want that like wow impact, it's not going to be in this shade. Having said that, this is a beautiful shade regardless. I think the thing is that I've become spoiled by a lot of the multi-chromes that are on the market now. And I think I'm just so used to that really dramatic shift that a lot of the indie brands do with their duo and multi-chromes that I'm not seeing it in this, but that's not to take away with how beautiful this shade is in and of itself. So overall, it's got the whole package for me. I mean, I love the aesthetic of it. I love the color story. I love the performance of the shadows. The packaging, aside from just the decorative aspect of it, the packaging is really intelligent. It flips right up. It doesn't fold all the way back, which I tend to prefer, but given that it's not a huge palette, I don't find it difficult at all to sort of hold it like a book. Where I run into problems is when there's larger palettes and then I have to fuss with the lid and it just becomes awkward to hold. This doesn't bother me at all. And it's also very secure, that magnetic closure. So overall, I have no complaints with this palette. I really don't even have any areas of critique aside from printing the shade names on the palette itself just for ease of reference. Your everyday consumer, it's not really going to matter, but it would make my job a little bit easier if I could reference the shade names more easily than trying to look at them on a transparent piece of plastic. Just a minor note, it doesn't take away from the palette at all, especially when you have packaging as beautiful as that. So for the $86 price point, yes, it is very hefty. However, you are getting generous pan sizes. They do perform beautifully. And frankly, I think you're also just paying for the prestige of the name as well as the beauty of the packaging. All right, and there you have it, guys. Those are my thoughts on the Mothership Rose Decadence palette from Pat McGrath. I would love to hear from you in the comments below whether you picked this palette up and what your experience with it has been. I just like to hear from you guys. So with that all being said, I'm gonna wrap this video up and I will see you in my next one. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. And until I messed up my outro, what the hell? I've been doing that outro for years. Anyways, until my next video, be a decent human being, please. Oh, I'm committed to it now. Bye for now.